Welcome to Courageous Conviction. Remember that Jeff and I record each Saturday 5 episodes. So please hit the like button, subscribe so you catch all 5 episodes. We usually start out with one theme or topic. We have to go down a lot of rabbit holes to really understand it. Some things are more sensitive than others right now, what's going on in the world. So hit the like button, subscribe, and let's jump into this video.
Jeff, how do I be a peacekeeper now? And knowing this information, how am I a peacekeeper with all the things that are dividing in the church today? What would you suggest?
I just think that we can't have hostility. We can't have people standing up and getting mad and throwing words out. No matter how we can't be self-righteous. We're all sinners, and we all come from a place to where we need to change daily. We were reminded of that a few conferences ago with our prophet, where he said, repent every day, and I'm like, what does that mean? I remember the days of repentance where it was brutal, but now it still can be, an eye opener when we realize how many things throughout the day that we can really change to make ourselves better and to think celestial. So, how we address other people is still important. I think that is inspired, and I think we need to follow that counsel really closely, to be able to sit but it doesn't mean that we have to accept sin, right? It just means that we can't be that accusational, and we can't exclude everybody, and I think that's really what the prophet and the leadership of the church is trying to say here with that. I'm not trying to interpret what they're saying in a sense. I'm just saying, hey, it sounds to me that we just need to become more peaceful. And that probably is because a lot of us haven't been, because we see things that are in the world that are wrong, and we want to shout, and we want to get mad, and we want to get a torch and light something, but are we really doing anybody any favors, including our own spiritual progress, if we are contentious? So to be contentious has to be really looked at. To be stern and to be inspired, that comes from a place of humility and inspiration, or humility.
Encourage, actually, Jeff, to be stern on a principle point right now, because otherwise, if you don't, like what's going on in the church right now, oh, you're a homophobe. Well, you can call me all the names you want to, but that is the neo-Marxist, club that they're using, even being Christ-like, right, to this extreme of this all-inclusive love where there's no standard. Well, the Lord definitely had standards. President Monson was very clear: come as you are, but don't pretend to stay that way.
Yeah.
Right? We come into the church to raise the bar, and like I was talking about, Jordan Peterson said, if you think you're okay as you are, no, you're not. You can do better. We can all do better. So then, was General Moroni a peacekeeper? He loved the people. He's in a heated battle, and he stops the battle and says, "Hey, I don't want to do this to you."
Right.
Make a covenant and go away.
He saw the war coming, and he stood up to it. And I think we do have to stand up. We need to stand up to things that are wrong and be able to express those things. As far as I'm concerned, things like this podcast are important because it gets people talking, and the whole point is getting people to stay in the church, not to be dissuaded by what's going on. Obviously, following Jesus Christ is going to be the most important thing we can do, and I think anything besides that, loving God and loving our neighbor, really has to be looked at, and how do we do things? Nobody says that we have to compromise our values and all of a sudden change the way we've always been taught. I think we need to have an open mind and kind of look at things, see what the leadership is doing, and not be accusational, and have some trust that what the leadership is doing is the right path.
But then the same token, I also have a responsibility as a father to protect my children and keep them on a covenant path, right?
So
correct path. And so if I'm going to church and they've got a young women's president that's going to promote this whole LGBTQ stuff, or they got primary, right, which we know is going to happen now, right? Then now I have to make decisions, and I have to voice that to my bishop, because that's something concerning to me. I don't want that influence on my children.
I took that to my bishop. I took it to my high councilman already, this last week. And I said, like, I think there's some stuff here that's kind of alarming to me, having a baptism that's promoted by, or approved by the first presidency of a transgender woman, and now is going to be going to Relief Society. What does that mean if she's going to be going to the women's bathroom? Or he?
I mean, you're being exactly. You're falling into the trap, right? It's a male, and that's the thing. What does our doctrine say, Jeff? Our doctrine teaches that proclamation of family, gender is eternal. It's something we change. And so just because they decide they want to, and that's what I heard on those podcasts too, was like, well, if you feel that way, then I support you that way because you feel good about yourself that way. And then General Moroni says, no way, that's not good enough. She
is not a she, she's a he. I know I didn't mean to misspeak there, but yeah, I mean, but he was put on the records as a she. So, it's confusing to members of the church. But does the leadership have to kind of do that way? Are we running into some issues to where if we don't, then we can lose our momentum on the global, stage? I mean, are we kind of pussyfooting around that whole thing to where we're afraid of what the world is going to do to the church if they make a stand against things like transgenderism?
It kind of appears that way, huh?
Seems that way. But, the reality still sticks, when I listen to Elder Oaks and I listen to Elder Holland and I listen to, past, our prophets speaking out against things like this, and more about the proclamation of the family, right? So I think that's a document that can't be set aside.
Hey, and I think, jumping on that right real quick, let me interject here. I think that I got to get my microphone. So I always bend over here in my camera. It's like, I got to get this one situated right. I'll get it corrected one of these days. I got to get this studio done here behind me. But, oh man, lost my train of thought here. Doggone it.
Sucks to be old.
Yeah, it does suck to be old too. But I think that, well, I'm gonna fall back to the peacemakers. Even after war, you have peace. Now, and I'm not suggesting that. And we do have to be careful right now. Okay, we do have to be careful right now because I believe we're being set up by this current administration with the border issue. It's getting a lot of people up in arms, and I am just as open to Latin America and Latin Americans as anybody. My children are Latin Americans, Latinos. My wife is, my good friends that are my best friends. My best friends, amongst my group of what I call close, true friends, the majority of them are from there. They live there, and some of them are even native Latins in from Ecuador. But we're being set up right now. And it's a valid point that we're being invaded. The country's being invaded, and we cannot do this. No country without borders can handle this for very long without having a serious consequence. And I saw what happened in Ecuador when they left the borders open. I saw what happened in Peru when they left the borders open. It was devastating. The crime just went rampant. Here in my little town, it's like you don't have crime here, and we're already starting to see the crime. You start out with small things, and now last week you had a murder. The 27-year-old guy comes out of a restaurant and he's stabbed to death. Right. So you're starting to see it happen even here, because what happens is these people are being bussed into red counties, red areas, right? They're being shipped off to these blue states, and then they're taking them and putting them in red counties to blow them out. It's a political thing. This is all political. And yet you have the trucker convoy going on right now down there, they're on the borders. And the propaganda out there is they're going now to defend the borders. The Civil War is going to kick off now. This is the beginning of the Civil War. Look, here's the thing. And Tim Cast and Tim Pool, I had to recommend listening to Tim. He has really good thoughts to think about, and he lays it out there to think about, right? He doesn't try to tell you this is how it is. He lays it out to think about, and he's humble enough to where he can be corrected and told differently. And he brings experts in to try to say, hey, help me understand it differently. Different than Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan cusses and swears and very foul mouth. I don't care for Joe Rogan, right? Where Tim Pool doesn't. You hardly ever hear any swearing at Tim Pool. Even Steven Crowder, he goes about it in a comedian way, but a lot of swearing there too. So I kind of get, I get some stuff from it, but it kind of has to, I want to get away from that swearing part of it, and I don't want that influence, because I find myself if I'm around people swear a lot and I get upset, what, all of a sudden say, oh, that flipping thing or something like that. And something else might come out once in a while. And my daughter's like, Dad, what did you say? I'm like, I don't know what I just say. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I don't want to be around the influence. But here's the thing. Once anybody makes a move right now that this administration can use as an excuse to say, yep, look, the right is starting a civil war. And that's what they want. Just like the whole January 6th thing, no matter which side you're on, I'm sorry, that's not insurrection. An insurrection is people that are armed, but insurrections took place during the Civil War when they, split up and then turned on and attacked America. Insurrections, what took place with BLM riots when they're burning down police stations. Those are insurrections, right?
There were some bad actors there. There were some bad actors that did show up. But you also had the on both sides, because you had the FBI and who knows what other alphabet soup was being put out there as far as law enforcement covert was concerned, and they were encouraging people to go in the buildings. I saw that on video. So
yeah, and not even that, but you can even the governor of oh man, come on, I'm really blowing it this morning, but can't remember her name. I don't think it was Wisconsin. It was Minnesota. I think it was Minnesota. Michigan, where the attempted assassination, that was all set up by the FBI, right? That was all done by the FBI. And anyway, my point being, that's my point. These are the deceptions right now. And the people going to the border right now, these truckers, they're just trying to trying to get the attention of people. But what's being propagandized is this is beginning the Civil War. And they're buying up all the Texans are buying up all the food storage and hearing all this. What's the government want right now? What would play right into the World Economic Forum's hands? Because this administration is playing that card, right? And people say, well, no, it's Barack Obama behind the scene, or it's George Bush behind the scene. Look, all these players are working with World Economic Forum and United Nations, all big group, right? And the funny thing is why I have a hard time with members of the church who have the Book of Mormon in their hands, to have a hard time understanding that there is a secret combination dead set on taking our freedoms. That's what the whole war chapters are warning us about, and that's why I think they're important, because
and they're infiltrating the church. These are people that are academics. They're people that are working at BYU. They're people that are working inside, other entities that are, formulated by the church, and they've been duped as well, and they're trying to dupe other members of the church, including leadership.
And so, they think ongoing revelation is going to change things and make it a little more left leaning, more progressive towards their ideology, right? But it's not going to happen, and that was what I was going to say earlier. But here's what I wanted to finish on this. If we make a stand at all, and I say that we mean conservatives, those who want to protect the Constitution, right? Right now is not the time to make a stand. And so I understand what the prophet's saying, because if we don't have the upper hand right now, what would take place right now is if there is anything given that these people can run with to suspend our constitutional rights again, like they did under COVID, they're going to do it in a heartbeat. And if there is a civil war, what did Lincoln do when the Civil War took place? He suspended the Constitution. There was no Constitution anymore. So due process, all of that is gone. It's out the window, and it becomes to tyrannical leadership. And Lincoln was a good president, right? Lincoln was one you could trust to restore it. But this administration is not even an administration. This is the World Economic Forum. These people we don't vote for that are pulling the strings. Yeah. And their whole agenda right now, what they're coming to, is they want to censor what we can and cannot talk about, because they want to take freedom of religion away from us, right? And if we jump in and fight, if we jump into this, we start standing up now in to show force, right? Yeah. They're going to suspend the constitutional rights, and that's all they need. And with that, constitutional rights will be gone. Religion, freedom of religion, all of it will fall down. Oh. So we're on this thread right now.
Well, society's that way, I mean, look at, I've got a Facebook page that I was promoting my book on, Revving the Soul, and it's called Second Chances, and it has to do with, RTT, this therapy that I do to help people get off of drugs and alcohol. And so I promoted the book on there, and a lot of stuff, I got a lot of commentary there, probably 20%, out of a few hundred, was atheist people getting on there with profiles saying this is a bunch of BS, and religion is everything that's bad in the world. And I look at these profiles when I open them up, and there's one or two friends, or they have they don't look like real people. almost,
Bots. A lot of them are bots. They're programmed
Mhm.
to go and do this. Yeah.
So, it makes me, and so I'm seeing this kind of trend going on. And even if they are real people, and there are a few of them that are, and when you do open up their profile, you can see maybe a couple hundred friends or something like that, and it looks like they have some pictures in there. And these are people that have just gone, atheist, and they don't agree with religion, and they think that anybody putting anything out, just keep your stuff to yourself is the whole idea. Don't promote this stuff. It's not real. It gives false hope. And and but most of it's like what you say is what I think is bots is coming out there. And where does that come from? Who's initiating that? And it kind of goes back to what you're talking about. We have this this world uh, um, influencer from the inside. Maybe the Gadianton robbers that the Book of Mormon talks about. It's become really developed and organized, and it's not who we think they are. They're not it's not
It's called the World Economic Forum today, the United Nations.
right, right. But you think of somebody, like the gangs out of El Salvador or something like that, which probably isn't. It's probably more politicians and world.
Well, if you look at who's in the World Economic Forum, you're going to take Bill Gates,
Right.
Jeff Bezos. You're going to take Zuckerberg, owner of Facebook, Instagram.
All the
This is your line of people that are all collaborated, and we know that they were collaborating in election fraud, etc. They have an agenda. Google. Those are the execs of Google and so forth. These guys are the ones that are all part of the World Economic Forum. And their whole leadership is done by Klaus Schwab, started in 1971 with the idea. And then Klaus Schwab has, serious communists.
I thank you for being with us on Courageous Conviction. Remember, there's 5 episodes each week that we put out. We have to go down a lot of rabbit holes, so stay with us. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and don't miss tomorrow's episode on Courageous Conviction.